Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be good to kind of see some game time again. You know, so I know this crew that's on here. I talked to Jared yesterday and couldn't thank him enough and really for Brian putting all this together, because I think it's super beneficial. And it's just really good stuff that you guys are talking about. And as kind of a young umpire coming into it, I just really just absorbing it all. I don't contribute a whole lot. I'm just really trying to absorb as much knowledge as I can with you guys.
Well, that's great that you're participating, Tony. The maturation of an umpire is learning, getting your feet wet, learning, absorbing, and then eventually getting to the point to where you can present and transfer the knowledge that you gained to the next person that's coming up behind you, because ultimately we're always looking to replace ourselves. And as you can tell, some of the folks that are in the room here have a lot of years behind them. And so being a young person as you are, then we're happy to have you. But that's the progression of being an umpire, is eventually translating the game back, hopefully to the point that you can help people get to the point that you are quicker in life by not having to go through the trial and error method to get there, even though that's always a good way to learn. So, Brian, you
Yes,
get
sir.
it solved?
I think so. I had to change computers. I apologize. So, okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a sign-in sheet for everybody just so they all can sign in and we can, yeah, I'm verifying that's me. Okay. Okay, here we go. Almost there, guys. No, maybe not. Okay, here we go. So in the chat room, guys, I'm going to post a link to a sign-in sheet. Feel free to send that. You're not required to. It just gives us an idea of who's been here, and so we can try to contact people and send copies of these. So, John, I also made you a co-host, so you're free to move about the country and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, let me get back to where I was then.
All right. And LP, welcome. Jim Craig, welcome.
Kevin Ryan.
Kevin Ryan's here. Welcome, Kevin Ryan. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. And staff members out of the Houston area. We've got, let's see, Tony. Where's Tony?
Tony's there. I see Tony.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Joe?
Hello, everyone.
Joe, is that you?
Yes, sir. I am here.
Okay. We got
Yes,
Sasha.
sir.
Sasha is with Slow Pitch Group. Robert Gonzalez is muted right now because he's out getting his conditioning work in. So he'll be listening and may join us when he gets done with his run.
And Mike Byerly told me he would be here at 7. So it's what now, 7:05? I'd say 3 minutes he'll be here.
Okay, well, what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to go over the getting back on the field. So give me just a minute to get there. I thought I had it up here, but apparently I didn't. Okay, as we get ready to get back on the field, obviously, guys, we with the situation that we're in, we want to make sure that we're safe as can be. And USA Softball has helped put out some guidelines for us to get back on the field, and we're going to run through them real quick. I'm going to hopefully be able to just kind of pan through here. I don't expect for any of us to be mask monitors or social distancing monitors, but I think that we have the duty to go and make sure that the coaches are aware at the pregame conferences that we need to abide by the social distancing guidelines that have been put together. So,
John, it's on page 12, I believe it is. Page 12. There you go.
okay, I apologize for that. And now, since we've got some people that are listening in and not watching through the Zoom meeting, obviously, when we get back on the field, it says that umpires should be allowed to wear gloves if they wish, wear a mask. I intend to wear a mask at all possible, and especially whenever I'm in close proximity to any players. It says here they want it to be a neutral color, but in this day and age, I think that probably would more likely apply to the national championship level than it would a local tournament. And since we're probably going to be few and far between as far as somebody being able to find a neutral mask. Provide your own hand sanitizer. I have been after my wife for a couple of weeks now to try to find some small hand sanitizer, let alone any. But she was finally able to do that, and I intend to carry it with me especially whenever on the plate, so I can make sure that my hands are kept clean. As you can see here, we're going to get into rules-based coaches. Coaches holding defensive conferences must stay on the home plate side of the pitcher circle, and the players must be on the opposite side of the pitcher circle, maintaining 6 foot distance. We'll see how that goes, but like I said, I don't think that we need to be a monitor for all of this. One of the things for slow pitch umpires is we drop down into mechanics. You can see here a slow pitch, the move of the starting position for the base umpire will move from a counter rotated position to back to first base with no runners on base. And that's obviously to go and help get the social distancing question out of the mix, because we often find ourselves 6 feet and behind the second baseman or whatever infield or outfielder may have come in to play a position on the infield. Fast pitch umpire deeper than normal for calls of balls and strikes. Now this brings up an interesting point too, because in here they say they recommend that the batter and the catcher be 6 feet apart. And then they want the umpire to be 6 feet behind the catcher. Unfortunately, in some of the fields that we call on, that's on the other side of the backstop. So you're going to have to use your best judgment whenever you get back on the field as to what your social distancing is. This also brings up another potential issue with the parents objecting to balls and strike calls because we're out of position for that we would normally be in to see the slot and have a clear view of the outside corner of the home plate. So we just need to work to get the best angle we can there to be able to call balls and strikes using social distancing. We don't have to worry about bats outside of the dugout. Again, that's a requirement of national championships. So if you see a damaged bat or an illegal bat, take it out of play and deal with it then. But otherwise, don't bother with equipment checks. Use verbal exchanges from safe distances when making lineup changes, and hopefully there won't be any issues with that. Everything is maintaining your distances. Off the field, wear your mask to and from the field. and in between games. Umpire room, we don't really have too many of those, but try to maintain as much distance as you can between each other. And we know that at least locally that we probably won't see anybody in there cleaning it up, so we need to police our own locker rooms if we have them. And that really then gets into national championship play as far as umpire pregame meetings or pre-tournament meetings, even though we do have a few of those at our local tournaments. Now, are there any questions on this? Kevin, do you have any insight for us?
The only thing I would say in the fast pitch tournament national championships, there's not going to be a requirement of the catcher to be 6 feet away from the batter or the umpire to be 6 feet away from the catcher. If we go 12 feet back from home plate, we're going to put ourselves in a position to get hurt more on foul balls than anything else. So we try to be kind of vague in that particular part of it, to be just to remind yourself you don't need to be as close as you normally are. We'd like everybody right off the shoulder of the catcher as close as possible. Some people say a fist or whatever distance you use as a monitor, but just remember that the catcher is probably going to be backed up a little bit, and you can back away from the catcher a little bit. But we are not requiring any type of social distancing between catcher, batter, and umpire. And the reason for that is what you just said a minute ago about people prepping about balls and strikes. We did a lot of surveying of players and coaches that they say if we're going to pay good money to come for a tournament, we want to be called as close as possible to what we would normally see. So.
Yeah, and I think with wearing of the masks, that should help immensely to keep that the ability for us to work closer to the catcher.
And that's one of the reasons we put it in there as a if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. There are going to be people that aren't going to be able to breathe back there in 95-degree, 95% humidity with a mask on. So if you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask.
Yep.
But if you definitely, if you feel better, more comfortable, wear a mask, by all means, wear a mask.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the second part of the presentation. And Brian and I gave this a shot last night, and there may or may not be audio on this, but we're going to give it a shot. Can everybody see the first slide? If you can turn back time. Okay. And what the presentation here is meant to do is to go and talk about timing as we get back on the field, and also watching for in-game situations that can result in issues as we move forward.
Hey, John.
Hang on.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't see you're sharing your screen.
Okay, well, hang on. Share screen. I apologize.
There you go.
Okay, we'll start this over. If you could turn back time, again, this is making sure that you don't move too quickly, don't make your calls too quickly, and watch for on-field situations that could cause issues down the line. And of course, it's going to do what it did. Now we'll give it a shot again. This umpire moves to a bad angle to get his call, and what you'll end up seeing is, in essence, he straight lined himself. So he made a move without without a reason and put himself in a position of being straight line. In reality, the batter runner coming in from first was safe. This is avoiding a double call. The umpire behind the plate, I don't know if you can hear that, but you can see him shrug his shoulders, and he says the word strike. And then whenever the ball hits the ground, he called it a ball. So avoid making a double call if we just slow down. I think we've all seen this one. But if we could turn back time, we may have been able to avoid some things. Now, after I watched this game, I was in the locker room and didn't know that this occurred because I had the next game up and I didn't know what happened. But after the fact, you saw the two incidents with the blue catcher, and the first one we'll have here in a minute. But if the umpires would have dealt with this, it's unlikely that the other two would have ever occurred because they didn't deal with this. And this player came in and took the catcher out and became a dangerous situation for the catcher. Could have caused a concussion. This is a pregame or the semifinal the night before. Okay, now that was from the front side. This is the same play from the back side. Okay. So whenever the situation occurred, I called time, and we had the runner placed at second base. And I went over and gave an individual and a team warning to the offending team. Coach is going to go out there and have a nice conversation with their second baseman. Then I went over and explained to the other coach, and that's in the process of walking over there now. And explained to the coach what happened. He didn't know. Told him that I wasn't going to tolerate any repercussions from his team, and we continued the game.
John,
Yes.
can I interrupt a second?
Yes.
What did she do?
She instituted a forearm shiv as she was obstructing the runner coming back and took her off her feet. And I deemed it to be malicious contact, sufficient for a warning, but not sufficient for an ejection.
Okay.
And the reason is that the venue that we were in, being the state championship, not wanting to take her out of the game, but also using it as an opportunity to stop any further action by either team. And in the process, last weekend we talked about pregame management, and one of the things that we talked about was a thorough pregame and knowing teams' tendencies. And our crew was informed that these two teams met in the state championship semifinal 2 years before, and the game ended with a bad call at the plate, in that a force out was in order and the plate umpire did not obtain a sufficient distance to be able to see the contact with the plate on the force out, and she ruled that there was no tag, and therefore the run scored, and they didn't protest the game. But we were told that there was a potential for there to be some bad blood between the two teams, and so we were ready for it when it occurred, and we stopped it. We stopped it right then and there. The interesting thing is that this game ended up in a similar situation. It ended up with a force play to end the game. But the force play was called because I had attained sufficient calling distance to be able to see the out at the plate on the force out. So it ended the same way, just 2 years apart. And one was correct, the other wasn't.
Who gave who a shiver?
The second baseman?
The second baseman did it to the runner.
Correct. Yeah, she
Okay.
was coming. She was in the rundown, and as she came by her to go back to second base, she gave her a forearm shiv and lifted her off her feet.
Okay, I couldn't see it in the
Yeah, I'll replay it.
so that's fine.
Okay. But so anyway, now this clip right here is the second. I didn't put that caption on there, by the way. But this is the second occurrence of the player being hit by the catcher. The first one, the catcher didn't know she was going to get hit. This one, the runner didn't know she was going to get hit, and you can tell because of the way she was lifted off her feet. Yeah. Now the
So,
last
John,
thing. Yes.
I'm sorry. In one of those, it looked like the umpire was looking right at the play.
I can't answer that, Brian.
No, I understand. But just in looking at it, it looks like he's looking right at it from the camera angle. And you know, if he was, I wonder why nothing was called. That's my take on it.
That's the $54 question in all of this. And
Right.
in my opinion, not only did he have a direct view of the player taking the catcher out for the team in white pants, he also had the the full view of the one. Now, this last one, he didn't have his eyes where he should have had him. And where's the plate umpire? What's his responsibility?
Well, we should be making sure the runner touches the plate.
That is correct. Now, the interesting thing about this game that this occurred in, they were doing a 4-man umpire system. So what other responsibilities does the plate umpire have?
The plate?
The plate. Okay, and so he was out of position, number one, and number two, he failed to deal with the initial issue and then let the other two go. And
Right.
I know that if we get right down to it, the number of people that have called baseball over the years, that play at the plate where they took the catcher out is probably commonplace in baseball, or it used to be. And so it shouldn't have happened. And if the umpire would have dealt with it at that point in time, the other two may not have occurred. So,
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, Kevin, did you want to go back and look at that one video that showed the forearm?
No, I'm good. I just wanted to know which one.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay. So the last thing here is work to attain the proper distance and angle so you can get an unobstructed view of the play. Work on your timing so you're not calling the outcome of a play before it happens. And this can also occur on the plate whenever we have umpires that are not waiting for the pitch to finish before they judge whether it's a ball or strike. And while it may very well go through the strike zone, if you're calling that pitch 2 or 3 feet out in front of the plate before it gets to the plate, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and the players. And the last thing and most important thing, work on being aware of the action in the game and deal with issues when they occur. Because if you can do that, you'll end up having fewer problems and headaches as the game goes along. And as we close here, before I ask about questions, USA softball umpires are the best trained umpires in the country. So,
Ask U-Trip.
Huh?
I said, ask U-Trip. We train all their umpires.
Yeah. Any questions?
So, John, I do have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody can answer this. Yeah, I'm not going to direct anybody in particular, but have you ever been in a game where your strike zone just kind of wasn't there? Anybody ever have that happen?
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
So how do you fix that? What do you do? Because sometimes, the harder you try to fix something, the worse it gets.
Yeah. Well, I know there, for me, there's a technique that I have picked up on, and I couldn't tell you where I learned it from or what level or whatever. It's called compartmentalization. And that works whether you're on the plate or on the bases, because we know that we have all from time to time probably had more chance to go and miss a call on the bases than on the plate. That was more dramatic because everybody could see that. And you realize that you probably made a mistake. You take it, like you write it down on a piece of paper and stick it in your pocket. And then you move on, because the next important play is the next thing you need to focus on, whether it be the next pitch or the next call it a base that you're working. And everybody talks about a reset. One of my favorite golfers at one time was Jim Furyk, and he used to have a reset that before he addressed the ball to go and hit it, whether it was on the tee or a shot in a fairway and maybe even the rough sometimes, was he would walk up and he would actually take his palm of his hands and he would act like he was pulling his pants up from his belt. And that was his reset for him to focus. So that was his way of compartmentalizing maybe the last club swing that he had. So is that what you were looking for, Brian?
Yeah. And one of the things that Tony and I talked to our young umpires out of Cullen about is not necessarily a reset, but if you're not concentrating, or you've had something and it's kind of distracted you, or you've made a bad call and you're kind of not with it right then, step out. Just step out, because the game's not going to continue without you. Take 10, 15 seconds and pull yourself together, take a deep breath, and then get back in.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I feel like we teach that we need to step out between pitches, that we don't want somebody stuck behind the plate with their feet like they're in concrete for that very reason, because you might need that 2 or 3 to 5 second increment between pitches to be able to go and refocus, because that's the biggest thing with the strike zone. Many times is we lose focus, and I've done that in games. You lose focus on the pitch because you either called one that wasn't a strike or you missed one that was, and so you've got to let it go, and you've got to focus on the next pitch, because it's the most important one of the game.
Yep, I agree. Anybody have any questions? So just to be clear, guys, this is an open discussion. So if you have anything besides the topic that you want to talk about, feel free to ask a question, because it's an open discussion.
John, you had a document. I came in a little bit late. Is there a way I could get a copy of that? I was interested in what it said.
Yeah. I can. You're talking about the recommendations. We were talking about social distancing. Yeah, Don, I'll send that to you. It's open for publication, because it's something that the national office sent out for us to disseminate.
And Kevin, is that on the national website? Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, I had to remember how to unmute. I believe so. It was supposed to be posted.
Okay.
I was just getting ready to go look, but my Google takes up on Zoom, so I can't see.
No problem. But I'm pretty sure it's there. It's on the national website if you want to go check it out there, guys.
Yeah, and like I said, Don, if you can't find it, I have no problem sending it to you.
Okay. Let me see if it's online first, and if I can't find it, I'll ask you.
Not a problem. So,
Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Do you have any advice on handling in-game situations and in situations where you have a runner that makes a hard slide at a player that's borderline or over the line? Any suggestions on how to handle that?
What specifically do you mean, a hard slide or over the line? Try to give me an example if you would.
Sure. Well, like the one that was in the video where the runner coming in from third base slid way to the inside of the plate to try to take the catcher out. Obviously not sliding at the base, but sliding to take the catcher out.
So first of all, if that's what you see, and it's an obvious situation that calls for some action, you have to take it. In that situation, and I think John was really good at mentioning, and when he used the other examples, Ryan, and this is a very good point and good question. Use the other examples of the situations where the runner came in and the catcher knocked her a couple of times. It wouldn't have happened number 2 and number 3 if it had been taken care of number 1. So therefore, if you feel it's something that needs to be addressed, address it in whatever way, and that can be simply saying something to them, you're close, or it can be as much as an objection.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the biggest example then is to make sure that you handle it one way or the other. And I think you brought that out well, John.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing as far as I'm concerned is safety of the players. And if it's unsafe, if it's an unsafe action and it ends up could potentially injure a player or incapacitate them in the form that I think that catcher's head hit the ground because she took her out from the side and behind whenever she hit the ground, then that's dangerous play and it's unsporting behavior. And so at a minimum, it should have been a warning. And if it ended up that they had to have medical attention on the field, then it definitely would have warranted, in my judgment, it would have warranted an ejection. How would you handle an ejection like that? You would kind of just walk up to the coach and very quietly and say, Coach, who's your next catcher? You don't go and give them a big heave-ho or anything like that in that situation, even though I have heave-hoed a player for not an unsimilar situation, but nevertheless, whenever there's somebody needing medical attention, you just walk over to the coach and say, Coach, who's your next catcher up? Because that one is no longer in this game. So those things can be handled in a quasi-private manner. And then whenever the game restarts, then you've got, instead of Susie behind the dish, you got Bobby, and the game goes on from there. But you prevent those things. Now, getting back into that game, we know that we saw the incidents there at the catcher, at the home plate with the catcher, and the first one I give the pass to the catcher because she didn't know she was going to get hit. The second one, the runner didn't know she was going to get hit. But I said, when I saw those, I said something had to have happened in that game that caused that to occur. And so I got a hold of the DVD of the game and played it back, and I found it, and I just shook my head. I said, I cannot believe that they allowed that to occur. Again, everybody's seen the presentation. If they had dealt with that, then the other two may not have ever occurred. So it's sometimes it's innocuous. Sometimes it's social media that sets those girls off. What used to be the note passed in school can now be passed from school to school via social media or between travel ball teams. So the instant that you find any inkling of an idea that something is about to occur, nip it in the bud. So anyway.
Guys, Joe posted a link or a message on there about finding the guidelines for umpires on the national website. It's probably on the first page, I'm sure, but there's a way to find it. It's in the chat screen if you want to go check that out. Sorry to interrupt, John.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Kevin, I've got a question for you. I know that last time you were on, you congratulated Houston Association for their umpires receiving national assignments. And I know that the word is, you put the word out that the national championships are still on. Is there any word yet about travel arrangements that that you can share with us right now?
Yes. The word that was put out when national championships were announced that they were going to be a go is the locations that are hosting have until June 5th to say, yeah, we're going to host, yeah, we're not. The state's not going to let us, the Park and Rec's not going to let us, whatever it might be. So I was asked Monday of this week, no, excuse me, Friday last week, not to contact Journey House yet until we hear from the 5th. So nobody technically makes any reservations to go to a championship that we're not sure it's going to go. So it'll probably be Friday the 5th or Monday the 8th. That avenue will be opened up.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tony,
Don't tell anybody I told you that because I hadn't told anybody else.
I didn't hear a word you said. Tony, we were talking earlier about you being a relatively new umpire with our association. Do you have any comments or questions in regards to the presentation?
Hey, John Scott. I'm assuming you're talking to me. I'm probably the newest guy on the staff here. But
yeah. Well, listen, you're the Tony with hair too.
Yeah. But no, I just appreciate all the information. You know, we spoke if everybody wasn't on here, but I'm just kind of absorbing it. You know, my daughter plays college ball up in Utah, and you know, picking up the game, been around it a lot, but I see it from a different perspective, and I have so much really just respect for you guys that you never know on a parent or even a coach's side of what goes on behind the scenes here, and all this talk and verbiage and, you know, back and forth and questions. It's phenomenal. I mean, I've been pretty grateful just to come across, you know, with meeting John Scott and Jared. Those are the two guys that have kind of took me under their wing and kind of led me, you know, through some things. And I've met some really good people on the field. And I've seen a huge difference between trained umpires and untrained umpires. And I obviously would not be specific with any of that, but there is a tremendous amount of difference from what the product you guys are putting on the field and the product that I was kind of brought into on working some tournaments on the weekends and stuff like that. But I'm just really grateful just to hear this information. And I just want to continue to grow with it and continue to study the books. And I like all the emails you guys send out, and it's just really informational. I hope that, you know, kind of kudos to Brian for putting this together, I think, originally. And then some other people jumped on board. And I haven't met most of you guys. I mean, John and Doug, or Don, rather, I've met. And Jared, I'm not sure if Jared's on here, but, you know, Jared and I live real close down here in the South in League City, Webster area. So we're able to communicate. But I'm really appreciative of what you guys have going on. I mean, you guys are really, really good about what you got going on. I mean, it's phenomenal, the information that's coming out and how you make a presentation here. So I'm just honored just to be here and to listen in on you guys.
Well, that's all. That's not the reason I brought him up, guys, but you know, those kind of words are very appreciative. Yes, Kevin.
Can I ask a question of Tony with hair?
Yes.
Tony with hair, where are you from?
I'm from this area originally, you know, born and raised in this Houston area. And
okay, let me rephrase that. What umpiring area are you from?
Sir?
What umpiring area are you from? Or are you new to umpiring completely?
Yeah, I'm new to umpiring completely. I mean,
okay.
I've got about a year under my belt here. But, you know, just kind of came across it when my daughter, you know, kind of moved off to college ball and, you know, really needed something to fulfill that gap. And this was my next best thing. So
yeah, Kevin, just
Tony. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
You know, Kevin, just to kind of give you a little enlightenment here, because of our structure in the state, Tony and Jared are actually on the southern border of the Houston Association, and so
gotcha.
they joined our association because of what we had going on. And the opportunities that we may be able to go and provide them the opportunity to get to or aspire to that they may not otherwise be able to get to because of being in a state area.
Cool.
Anyway, so I mean, it's not that we poach people, but if they want to join us, we welcome them open armed.
I am a firm believer in if regardless of what you may ask, charge, fees, whatever, if the product that you are getting in return is good, people will go or stay where they're intended to be. So if Tony with hair came to y'all because you think you got a better product, I get that. Tony with hair, what position does your daughter play, just out of curiosity?
She is a junior at Utah State, and she'll be going to her senior year. Obviously, didn't get any playing time this year. The girls didn't play. They weren't able to even make it to conference play. She went to Clear Springs High School down here in League City and graduated in 2017, and she'll be a senior next year.
What position?
She's an outfielder.
Okay, good. I was hoping you wouldn't say pitcher.
Oh, he had. If he did, he would have had the ultimate view of the strike zone.
He knows strike zone a long time ago.
Yeah.
Tony with hair, welcome to the family.
I don't know if anybody noticed, but when they said Southern Border, Larry Montgomery really perked up.
Yeah.
Well, when you said Southern Border, I went a lot further south.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, Robert, are you done with your run yet? Robert Gonzalez?
Yes, I just finished.
Just finished. You're not breathing hard.
So
maybe you need to run some more.
I'm able to, at a quick glance, Tony with hair looked like, but anyway, we attended a separate This is something I was taught a long time ago, but I continue to work and also talk to other officials, which is keep
You're breaking up, Robert.
and I'm moving around. So maybe, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So keep umpiring. Never let your eyes rest. Never put yourself in a situation where you think nothing could happen. Always pay attention to the game while it's happening, whether the play's at home plate and you're the plate umpire. If you're the U1, U3, it doesn't matter. Continue to umpire. You know, we've seen that the young lady took out the catcher, and I've seen that play 100 times. Home plate umpire isn't the only one that has to make that call. There was 3 other umpires on that field that legitimately could have came across and said, this is what I got. So the point of the matter is always keep your focus. The game's not over until it's over. If you can remember that, you're going to be one step better at your game because you'll be engaged.
Chris Schumann, do you have any input for us tonight? Roland, are you there?
Hey, Johnny, just soaking it in, my man. Just
Okay.
soaking it in and back on the field. And like Tony with hair, it's good to be around some veterans with some great insights, some great teachings. It kind of I think it should humble all of us, no matter what level we're at, that there shouldn't be a day or a game that goes by that we can't learn something to polish our game, to polish our expertise, whether it be in the book, on the field, or just landscaping it and watching the game. Because if you're not learning, you're not getting better. If you're not listening, you're not getting better. Because this game never ends. There's always, and I think Robert Gonzalez has been a good mentor of mine. He's always taught me to keep your eye on the game no matter what. But there's just something that's going to happen that probably never has happened before. And don't be caught off guard if you're not in that position to know it, understand it, and then to execute with it. So once again, I appreciate the veterans here on, and I'm looking forward to get on the field. And definitely, I think with this whole pandemic and the whole thing going on currently with the Floyd thing, it's we got to stick together and work together, that we are one, and we continue to back each other up, whether we're good, bad, or indifferent, make good calls or bad calls, that we still stay together to, be the Houston chapter that we not claim to be, but we believe to be. So thanks for having me on board. I appreciate the chance to listen in, and apologize for not being on last week, but trying to do my best when I can.
It happens, but we appreciate you being here. Francis, do you have any insight for us?
John, the main thing for anyone is just to be a student of the game, study, be professional, and ask for feedback. I think that's important. After a game, you get with someone that you respect and really solicit feedback. I think that's important, and the only way you're going to get better is if you work with people who are going to be honest with you and have an interest in you getting well and getting better. So anyway, welcome aboard. Thanks.
Yeah, so I've got a question for everybody too, and I know I've run into it about somebody asking for feedback. Have you ever run into somebody who's asked for feedback and not really wanted it? Okay. Or but the second you go and give them something that's a constructive criticism, they look at you and say, "Oh, really?" Those are the people you got to watch out for, because you just became their worst enemy. But yeah, the honesty and integrity comes from being able to not only give but also take criticism, and sometimes that's the best way to learn something. So let's see, Mike.
John, can I interrupt?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Just a quick story similar to that. I've had an umpire recently in the last couple of years who will tell you everything you want to hear, tells you he wants to get better. But as soon as you start critiquing his game, it becomes, you're picking on me, and he gets very defensive. And, at some point you just have enough of that. And it's like, hey, you're doing great. Keep it up.
Yep.
Brian, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about you, Brad.
Yeah. Now, hey, that's that millennial song, isn't it? That we're
right.
We sing in the back of your head whenever they want to learn, but yet they don't want to listen. Mike Byerly, you got anything for us?
No, I mean, everybody's got a really good input. Those are great to have. And one thing we always say in the slow pitch game, when you're umpiring, it's like 2 against 20. And we don't mean it as an adversarial relationship. It's just you got 10 people see it one way, another 10 people see it another way, 20 people, you got 2 umpires typically. And when I say it's 2 against 20, it's a partnership. And I think everybody knows that the integrity you have in trusting your partner, that goes a long way. Sometimes you don't get to choose your partner because the assigner puts you with whoever. Mm-hmm. And we've all had partners that, we walk out there in the field and go, "Oh no," or "Oh yeah," and you just do the best you can with, like we're all talking about. And I think that's important to know, not only the teams like we're talking about, but also know your partner and know if that person is going to be where they need to be or not be where they need to be. So you might have to, one night, you might have to step up your game a little bit. Another night, you can have that honest, free-flowing criticism back and forth with your partner. I think that's important for veteran umpires and also the new umpires coming up to realize how to manage the game with what you're dealing with on a nightly basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to digress into something that I love working with younger, newer umpires and watching their development. And obviously, whenever some people get in a stressful situation, they don't react very well. But and this wasn't specifically USA softball related, but it was high school related. And the young lady was a USA softball umpire as well. And so I knew that they were going to be calling it at a school around the corner from my place of business. And so I purposefully stopped by there just to see her and watch her call and see who her partner was. And I went up to the fence and because the first year she really didn't have that good of a year because she was brand new and she was afraid and she was apprehensive and things of that nature. And then when I walked up to the fence between half innings and caught her attention, she came over and I said, "How you doing?" She said, "I'm doing great. This is my second year and I'm actually the lead umpire on this field. And it feels great to be the one that has the most experience on the field." And here she was, a second-year umpire. But she had changed not only as an umpire, but as a person because she had gotten away from being apprehensive on the field. And you could tell it in her strike zone and the way she carried herself on the field. So, Tony, you have something to look forward to for next year to live up to her expectations.
Well, I'm not looking to be a lead umpire on the field yet. That's for sure. So
Yeah,
I'll
I'll tell you another funny story. And some of the people here in the chat room, they know a good friend of mine, Wesley Doolittle, and he was a UIC for fast pitch here in Houston before myself. And the first time we went down to a high school softball meeting, he said, when we get in there, I sure hope they pair us with a veteran. And so we'll be able to learn these ropes. And then I looked at him, I said, "What if you get in and find out you are the veteran?" And he said, "Oh, there's no way." And sure enough, there's no way. Anyway, he was a good friend, a great umpire. And when he retired from calling softball, it was we had a big loss here in the community. So
I agree.
Yeah. LP, anything from you?
Nope. Enjoy sitting in on the conversation. It runs the gamut from one end to the next, and it's a great opportunity to sit in and put faces with names and that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
You let me sit in.
Can I ask Mr. Ryan a question?
Sure. Go ahead and ask.
Mr. Ryan, I got a quick question for you. It's a series of questions, but the first one would be, would you say that we always send our best umpires to a national championship?
Who's we?
USA Softball. Okay, it's a setup question. Let me ask you, do you think that there are times when we send somebody to a tournament, a national championship, and it's kind of a reward because they've been an umpire for 20 years? He's not really good, but this is his reward. We're going to send him off before he retires. Does that happen?
Who's we?
USA Softball, anywhere.
That would be a decision by the local UIC,
right,
that was approved by somebody else. So we should go back to the root of the cause, and that would be the local organization. Don't put that on the national staff.
The only reason I'm asking the question is we have 100 national championships. So the umpires that are assigned to all the national championships are, on the majority, are assigned by their local UIC.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak to all national championships. I can speak to the ones that I am directly involved in. And I hope, my wife says I look at the ceiling while I'm talking on Zoom. My camera is down at the bottom. I keep looking up to see y'all, but I am kind of looking up at the ceiling right now. I would say the answer to that question is yes. And I would say not only, I don't know the umpires to go to national championships as an award as much as they put umpires in a bad position. They put umpires in a position to fail.
So the reason I asked that question, Kevin, is this: is if you're at a national championship and you're partnered with an umpire who might be in over their head, okay, what would you tell an umpire, a veteran umpire who deserves to be there? How would you tell them to handle working with that partner? Would you tell them to make sure they cover that partner, or would you tell them to stick to doing their job and not worry about what that partner does?
I would probably tell them that you're on the field as a team, that you've got an umpire out there that is new to the game, not sure of her mechanics, not sure of his positioning, not sure. I could go through a litany of things. So keep an eye on that person, reassure that person, be ready to help that person if the time comes.
And the reason I asked that question, Kevin, is because we talked a minute ago about, going to tournaments and being paired with somebody you've never met before that you don't know anything about. And so how do you handle being with a new partner? That's kind of where I was going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think all of us have been there. I was lucky enough when I did umpire that I went to national championships with a lot of the same umpires, but there were always new umpires there also. And I think if you walk out on the field with the mentality that everybody on the field, nobody's different, nobody's better, nobody's worse, and read everything that goes on, you'll figure out, what this umpire is either been sent somewhere he shouldn't be. She is not really as well trained as she should be, and you learn to help cover those people. But you also learn that there's a lot of umpires out there that cover your derriere when you screw up too.
Sure, and part of that goes back to what Robert said about not stopping umpiring. You may not have a responsibility at that very moment, but that doesn't mean you can't have eyes somewhere else to help your partner out.
Well, and one of the basics of our mechanics with a plate umpire is the view of the plate umpire when they are at the plate, and even sometimes when they're rotated, but when they're at the plate, their view's the whole field. So if they keep that in mind, that they are supposed to be watching everything, that a plate umpire can see most everything that happens. I can see a base umpire when they're in, button hooked in, may not see something behind them where a plate umpire will be able to see all that. So we hope people are looking at everything, and I think we're getting better with all umpires paying attention to the whole play. You remember, I'm sure, the day of once you go out, stay out. You're done. Forget it. Go away. And we have changed that to say you don't come back in, but you do turn around and keep an eye on things, because there might be something happen that you might be able to help.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to give another anecdotal story. The first time I met Kevin Ryan was in Waxahachie. Well, actually, Jim Craig as well, in Waxahachie at a USA Softball, then ASA National Fast Pitch Advanced Camp. And we'd gone through a great in-class training session. And had some on the field mechanics work and things of that nature. And then we got on the field for the gold qualifier that was held at the end of the clinic. And for whatever reason, I was assigned to work in Midlothian, and amazingly enough, Kevin Ryan was out there, and there were all of a sudden something happened on one of the fields. And somebody got Kevin, and he came out to the quad that we were in, and they said, it's on this field over here. And they said, well, what about these guys over here? And he looked out there, and the three of us on the field doing three-man mechanics. In about 30 seconds, he said, they're all right. We need to be over there. And that's where he realized that there was a person there, even though it says that when you go to a advanced camp, whether it be slow or fast pitch, that you need to be competent in your mechanics, so that whenever you get there, it's an enhancement on what you know, not a learning experience that you then might be setting yourself up for failure. So anyway, I took that as a great compliment, but nevertheless, it was a good learning experience, seeing how sometimes you have to go and take care of those problems on another field, and I've taken that from there on out, that whenever I work a tournament or do a game or whatever, I don't want to be a problem for the UIC. I want to go out there and do my job, and if he is never called to my field, or she, then that's a compliment. to me because I've done my job. I've made their life easier. So anyway, thank you, Kevin.
You're
Kevin?
more than welcome. You're
You
more than
bet.
welcome. Sorry, I had to take it off of me.
I got you. Hey, Brian, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to you so you can handle any business that we might need to handle. Unmute yourself. You're lip flapping.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My dogs were barking a minute ago. One thing, I don't know if you guys have been following us on Facebook. Glenn Kell is still doing his battle for cancer, and I'm going to attempt to put together a blood drive. So if you guys are interested in donating blood, we would appreciate it. I will continue to put information out on Facebook and other social media pages to let you guys know what's going on, when, where, all the particulars. So yeah, John?
If that doesn't come to pass, can you just go into a blood center, make an appointment, make a blood donation in his name, or does it have to be all in one place?
No, I believe you can. I believe you can do that. I don't think that's a problem. And as a matter of fact, you guys are around the country that want to do that would be great. I'm sure that you could still do that. But I'm trying to get it so that the little bus thing comes out to one location where we can all go and perhaps make it a little social event and a unity thing for Glenn. So, but yeah, certainly if it's better for you to go on your own to the blood bank, I'm all for it. Just do it in Glenn Kell's name.
Yeah, just make sure you realize that I was on there. I want to make sure that I get notification because I want to definitely be part of that.
You got it.
Very good.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, Brian, before we got away last week, we didn't really set the presenter or the topic. And so you and I talked this past week and put this together for tonight. Have you determined, or if we had somebody step forward as a presenter and what the topic is going to be?
I plan on stepping forward. Thanks, John. You put me on the spot. I plan on stepping forward. I've got a new technology thing that I'm going to show you guys that I think is pretty awesome. And
you want to give them can you give them a taste right now?
I don't have the other item with me. Hang on. Maybe I can do it with my phone. Hang on.
I cannot believe that you're not prepared.
Well, I was preparing it for next week. Hang on.
Okay.
We're not going to play Duck, Duck, Goose again, are we?
No, Michael. No, we only do that at clinics, at live clinics, when we're,
okay. Just checking. I'm going back to
Mike, do you still have the same phone number?
Yeah, I just don't answer people all the time.
Yeah. Hey, I know with Brian on there a minute ago, it reminded me of an old Jerry Clower joke about somebody said he'd had so much to drink that his lips were moving, but he wasn't saying anything. So.
Yeah.
You mean
John,
Jerry Clower? I love that guy.
Yeah.
John, I apologize. I am not prepared to set that up right now.
Okay.
So,
that's not a problem.
I promise you, there'll be a new technology thing that I'm going to use with you guys next Tuesday. I'm really excited by it. John, I think you thought it was a pretty good idea. Mike, you haven't seen it, have you?
Tony saw it.
Yeah, Tony saw it. Tony,
No.
what do you think?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's going to be a great tool to use, especially in teaching and training umpires. It's going to be a very good tool to use.
So
is that Tony with no hair?
Yes.
Tony with no hair. That's correct.
I mean, I don't want to pick on just one, Tony. I'm getting there, bud. I'm not quite there, but I am getting there. So I'm going to be coming with no hair pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't care what y'all say.
It's like my father used to say that you only put icing on a cake to cover up a mistake.
There you go.
Well, in that case, I'm taking my hat off.
Say sport prohibits me from saying what my dad used to say.
Well, there we go. Okay. Graston, you're on a busy street?
He already made the disclaimer, Brian. Don't pull him out of that.
I'm not going to make him say anything. Kevin Ryan's his own man. Does anybody have anything they would like to add?
Are you trying to me so I'll be back next week?
It's always a pleasure whenever we have such distinguished guests.
Definitely.
I thought for sure you'd say something, LP, when he mentioned Jerry Clower.
Yeah, that's true.
So
he was one of the best.
He's from Tupelo, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sure all these guys know Jerry Clower.
Know of him.
Yeah.
LP.
Who was he?
LP, next week before we start, we're going to have you sing the national anthem, okay?
Oh, okay.
I love the way you sing that.
Just hold on dang a minute. Now, every time I ask him to do it, he says, give me a quarter. So, LP.
Well, the price went up.
Okay,
Hell,
don't you be singing
LP.
without telling them how I charge them a quarter.
I'll give you 50 cents, LP.
That's right.
So, okay. So, guys, I'm done.
Right.
John, are you done?
Yeah, I
who
think
said
I
Right.
think
That's me.
Jim.
Jim, Craig, how are you? I'd just like to say a couple of things before you go here. And first of all, enjoyed the call, some great topics. And message to Tony with there. You brought up something today that we can all learn from and continue to learn from. You talked about the trained and untrained umpire. That's because you were there looking at somebody. You were there watching the game. You're doing whatever you want to do. As far as learning, guys, I can't say enough. There's tons of stuff, and these gentlemen here will help you in every way, shape, or form. But if you get out there and watch other umpires, whether you like what they're doing or whether you don't, it's going to help form you. It's going to help you understand what you need to do to be the best you can be. And so kudos to you all. And Tony, kudos to you for getting a real head start on what I think is going to be a great career.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that information, and really, I mean, I got to lean in towards John Scott. I mean, John really got me going on this, and Jared Arrington is the guy that also took me under his wing, and I'm just very appreciative of both those guys. So I've met a few other people and some really, really good umpires out at some tournaments, before all this started back in late October, November, when we kind of finished up, and then. I'm starting to get familiar with some of the faces that are online here. And like I said, I hope you guys continue this as we continue to move forward, because this is a pretty good platform to kind of open up discussion with. So again, I'm just grateful to be a part of the group.
As long as we have people that will get in the room with us, then we'll be more than happy to keep it going. Now, Tony, for you, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to be in a position within 2 years to be able to get to a national advanced fast pitch camp, so you can get tutelage directly from Jim Craig, and hopefully Kevin Ryan will be there. Now, if you want to go the slow pitch route, then Larry Montgomery is your guy. So anyway, but just keep progressing like you are. Get your 3-man mechanics down, and then you won't be one of those people that they have to worry about whenever we get on the field at the end of the tournament, or the end of the clinic, and you're in the evaluation portion of it to see if you really learned what they taught there at the clinic.
Well, thank you, John. I tell you what, I really got to give a shout out to Jared Arrington, because he's, he may be, I mean, he's a pretty tough teacher, so, and I kind of look at him as a coach. I mean, he really is coaching people up. I've seen it I've seen it at camps. And I've seen it on the field. So, you guys keep scouting and having good people like that in those senior positions. And I think USA softball will be fine for the next, 10, 15 years.
No, at least. Now, I'll tell you this, Jared is a taskmaster. Jim knows him. Kevin knows him. And obviously Robert and I and Brian know him. But yeah, he's a taskmaster, and he also believes he's a branding person. And anytime he gets an opportunity to go and tout the benefits of being a USA softball umpire on or off the field, then he's going to do it. So anyway, he's not on the call right now apparently, but otherwise his head would be blowing up right now. So anyway, I appreciate everybody sitting in. Don, let me know if you don't get that document, and I'll email it to you. Other than that, I'm out of here. Let's enjoy the night, guys. Thanks again.
Guys.
Thank you.
John, when are you going to get Monty Valco to come away from the dark side of Tasso?
Well, he's out there. He just, he's the UIC with USA softball at
Dad's Club.
Oaks Dad's Club. And he was invited to come to the meeting tonight, but with the county reopening and everything that's been going on,
he's pretty busy.
Yeah, he's been a busy person.
So they opened the buses back up?
No, they haven't done that yet, because they're still at a 25% limitation. Or restriction, I should say, and that's like the county facilities we're going to reopen. Well, actually, they reopen this Monday, but if you have 200 occupancy or whatever, then 25% of that is what, 50?
Yes,
And
sir.
if you have 10 rooms, that's 5 person in each room. So that's severely limited still on what they can do as far as functioning. And so he's not. I say he's not. The county is not instituted running the buses yet. So.
Well, I've seen a couple at our place because I work for the county as well in the road and bridge department. They fuel up at our area, but I'll talk to them and see if I can't get them to come into these meetings.
Okay, well, good deal. Yeah, tell him that you're in there and you're learning a lot of good stuff and want to know why he's not participating.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, anybody have anything else they want to add before we go?
See you next week.
Yeah,
Thanks,
just
guys.
appreciate
Appreciate
everybody
it.
being here.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you being on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. Have a good
Thanks,
night. Be
Kim.
safe.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Sasha,
Take
quit
care.
looking so mean.
Try not to.
Hey, Sash.
Hi, guys.
Sound like you're losing your voice, girl.